Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much to all of the witnesses, and a special welcome to Joanna. It's great to see you here, and just to say, you know, how great it is to see the work of the Galway Traveller, of the Galway Traveller movement here on the national stage, because I think that you are really something that a lot of counties could follow, and I love to see the bounce back trucks going around the city. And, you know, as a green, obviously the recycling element of it is very appealing to me as well. And I think that one thing that you do very well is you go into the universities as well during what's the word, Freshers Week. And that is a really good thing, because it is actually travellers themselves there who are engaging with students. And it, you know, it has that kind of two-way thing, that it gives people who are in the traveller community more of an experience of universities, but also likewise what the kind of social enterprises that people can get involved in when they're in university, when they're doing their thesis, and when they're moving out themselves into the workplace, to see how social innovation can make such a difference to people's lives. Because so much of research goes into things that are very corporate, and that's the kind of way that research is kind of set up in this country, that we rely very heavily for our funding model on a corporate structure within higher education. And I think social innovation can sometimes be dropped off because of that. Just in relation to the previous point from Deputy Collins, I would absolutely agree that sometimes we do have an overemphasis. Actually, it might have been Deputy O'Queeves. Well, we have an overemphasis on looking at reviews all of the time. But I think there's a balance there, because, you know, it's not that long ago that we would have thought equality just means looking at every person as equal, when actually we have to really focus more on equity, which is about taking each person as they come and seeing that some people have more challenges because of their education, because of the kind of discrimination they experience. So it isn't just an issue of looking at each person as equal when they come into you. It's actually saying this person has had to overcome more barriers. And that's what I hear from all of the, you know, the emphasis here on the importance of getting work experience, because it gives you a leg up to be at the same level as other people who've had those advantages. And I wonder, I think that Deputy Collins is right there. Like, maybe we do need to look at either quotas or positive discrimination. The previous committee meeting that we were at, and we were looking at the kind of rates of employment, and there wasn't really a full explanation there, I felt, from the ESRI around what are the rates in the public sector versus the private sector, because the public sector is something that we all work in here and something that we can do more about. And I would see that there are huge gains to be made in the public sector in terms of work. But also, I really take on board what Joanna has said there in relation to legislation maybe impacting on the ability for people to set up their own businesses. And I'd love to hear a bit more about that, and what we might be able to do, and what we might be able to recommend from this committee that would, it's not directly discriminatory, but it's an indirectly discriminatory if people from the traveller community are looking, you know, are more likely to set up businesses than anything that we're doing legislatively that's going to impact on, you know, on sole traders, is going to impact more negatively, obviously, on the traveller community. Thanks.
Thanks, Senator. If Joanna, would you like to come back to Senator Pauline O'Reilly?
Thanks very much. I think one of the things around the legislation that comes in that has put pressure on the traveller community, keeping their employment, the self-employment and stuff, it's making it accessible to continue. Like, some of the legislations that have been brought in has made it impossible for travellers to continue with the work that they were doing. Just getting around the red tape involved in continuing work. Sometimes, like, the previous workers who were already in that line of business, the support of going in and talking to them. I will say there could be literacy issues. It could be access to the internet. It could be the actual literacy of computer literacy in order to gain the knowledge or to do the forms and things like that. That could be some of the barriers, and that could be something that could be helped. It could even just like some of the requirements that have been put in place around owning horses and trading and things like that have been put in place, just make it impossible for some people to continue their work. And it's if someone already has a livelihood around in a certain livelihood being earned in a certain role, then I think there should be every effort used to try and continue that and to keep that going, because there's someone there who's willing to work, someone there who's trying their best, and the support that's needed it can be given, and it is given in other areas, and it should be given in this area as well. I say there's ownership of horses and end of vehicle life, but there's also sole trading and selling in markets and things. There's so many different examples. I don't know them all. I won't sit here and make up stuff but if there's I could always get back to you with information. But there is the support that is there should be given to travellers as well, and just the consideration really for people who are already making a living in that area. That's the consideration, the research getting done. If there's going to be a change in something, proper research needs to be done into everybody to be seen how would it affect them. And yeah, it's great to see the vans going around. I know it yourself. It's an absolutely brilliant social enterprise, and I think I just can't praise it enough. But like I say, I could get back to you with some other information around the legislation and stuff if you'd like.
Yeah, no, look, that's been really, really helpful, because I think it's really good to put that in focus, that it's not just about discrimination, obvious discrimination, it's about other forms of discrimination as well. Thanks. Niall, did you had your hand
Niall,
up here? Did you want to come in?
Sorry, Pauline, Niall just wanted to come in, so then I'll call you back if that's okay.
Thanks, Chair. No, just to pick up the idea of quotas within the public sector as well, that both Deputy O'Reilly and Deputy Collins raised, and the model in terms of the ground of disability, that I think there is potential in that, and that's very close to our thinking in terms of public sector internships as well. But if you go down that route, it would be important to learn from the disability model as well. And the two big issues there, one is it got jobs at the entry level, but it hasn't really enabled progression within public bodies. So I think it would need a new model where travellers get access to public sector jobs, but are enabled to progress their careers within the public sector as well. And that has been a gap. The other gap was lack of training for public sector employers as well in terms of management of diversity, and that is a significant issue. It was a particular issue around reasonable accommodation of people with disabilities, but similarly it would be an issue in relation to travellers and how employers manage cultural diversity, how employers manage effectively the elimination of those microaggressions we found in the public and the private sector, which were immensely demoralising for traveller employees. And then the second point to make is just in terms of the review, it's not that we're recommending a review or anything like that, it's that a review is happening, and reviews are moments of change. And if there is a review happening of the National Social Enterprise Strategy, it should lead to action in terms of a tailoring of supports to the traveller community and an outreach in terms of information and awareness to the traveller community, so that those opportunities can be taken up. And likewise, the public sector duty isn't airy-fairy in any way. It's very specifically focused on action in terms of public bodies' employment function as well as their service provision function, and action to address issues that are faced by travellers in relation to their particular areas of responsibility, as well as other grounds as well. So these two recommendations